All right, welcome everyone to class. Happy Friday. Hopefully you guys are having a good week. Today is day 3, week 11. Sorry about all the technical issues. I just thought it would be easier if we just had class as a video than trying to get us in and out. So I apologize. I know this changes your schedule and whatnot, but thank you for bearing with me. I do appreciate it. Today we're going to learn about the last 2 lessons in Unit 4. So Monday and we'll review and take our test. So today we're going to be looking at triangles, and there's special types of triangles that we're going to look at. They're 45, 45, 90, and 30, 60, 90. Okay, so we have triangles can be classified into 2 different things. They can be classified into the number of sides that are congruent or their angles. So an equilateral triangle is going to have 3 congruent sides. So that means all 3 side measures are the exact same length. So maybe it's all 3, 3, and 3 centimeters. That's just an example. If we're isosceles, we have 2 congruent side measures. Typically, when you see it in isosceles, you'll see that your sides that are congruent are this piece and this piece. And then the bottom piece is the different measurement. And then your scalene, there are 0 congruent. They're all different side measures. None of them are the same. That would be how we classify our sides. If we have angles, then we have a right angle where it's 90 degrees. We can have an obtuse where it's bigger than 90, or acute where all 3 are less than 90. Okay, so we are given a triangle here, and we need to figure out its measurements. Now, we're given some information. We're given this little dash here and this little dash here. And what that tells us is that those 2 sides are congruent. That tells me this is an isosceles triangle. If it's isosceles, that means the 2 sides are equal to each other. In order to find out what x equals, I just set both sides equal to one another, and then I solve my equation. So that tells me that this side and this side are the same number, so I can set them equal to one another. In order to solve this, I just need to get my x over here, and I do that by subtracting 2x on both sides. So 2x minus 2x, I'm just left with a 6. And 3x minus 2x, I'm left with a 1x, or just x. So I'm left with x plus 4 equals 6. At this point, you can hopefully see what x is going to equal. But in order to combine my like terms, I need to subtract 4 over here. So 6 minus 4, x would equal 2. In order to check that and find the length measure, I'm going to substitute that x in for 2 here. So I'd get 2 times 2 plus 6. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 6 is 10. Then I can take it and substitute it as well there. So 3 times 2 plus 4. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 4 is 10. Now you can see that we checked our work because both sides measure 10. So then our x equals 2 is our correct answer. Every time you have a problem like this, you just set them equal and then solve to find the missing measurement. Because it's isosceles, we don't have enough information to figure out this side, and that's fine at this point. We were just trying to, figure out the sides of the 2 other pieces. Okay, so let's look at a 45, 45, 90. Now, a 45, 45, 90 triangle, you ultimately are just going to have to memorize their relationships. And normally I don't say this about math. We can go through and I can show you, and I probably will on Monday when we're live together, how this is evaluated and how this starts. But for this point, I just would like you to memorize their relationship. So our 2 legs are always going to be the same measure side. So our legs are congruent. That tells us that this is isosceles. So if I said that this piece was 4, this length would also be 4. They're congruent. You can see up here, they're both 1. Here, they both represent x. They are congruent. If we are looking at our hypotenuse has a different relationship with it in a 45, 45, 90. Because we have 2 angles that are 45 degrees, you can see that they are the same angle measurement, and that's what makes our legs congruent. Well, now from a 45, 45, 9 to the 90 piece, we have a different relationship because now we have a different angle measure. And so what it is it's our leg whatever our leg measure is, times the square root of 2. So if our leg measure up here was 1, it's 1 times the square root of 2. You can see here it has just the x because we can change that x out and put any number here. On the measure we were looking at, we had it as 4. So 4 times the square root of 2 is 4 root 2. So 45, 45, 90 is always going to have the same length legs, and then the hypotenuse is going to be times root 2. If I put this in context to a problem, we need to find the missing measures. So we want to find what our side and our hypotenuse equals. We are given very little information, but if we pick this apart and evaluate it, we can see that there's a lot of information actually here. This angle we know is 90 degrees. This one is 45. All triangles have to equal 180 degrees. So I have 45 plus 90 plus some other measure we don't know, and it has to equal 180. So 45 plus 90, then I can subtract that, I get 180, and I'm left with that this is another 45-degree angle. Well, that helps us figure out that, hey, this is a 45 and 45, 90. We just learned a relationship about it, that it's isosceles. So if this bottom side measures 5, then this other leg also has to measure 5. Right off the bat, I haven't done any math. I just know that that's the relationship. The two legs on a 45, 45, 90 are going to be congruent. They have congruent angles. It's isosceles. That's the same measure. I also know from a 45, 45, 90 that my hypotenuse, the longest side, is going to equal my leg times the square root of 2. That means if my legs are 5, my hypotenuse is going to be 5 square root 2. So that would say that y equals 5 square root 2. So we found our missing angle, we found our x, and we found our y. We solved our information, and it didn't take us long. We didn't have to do a lot of math. We just knew that relationship. Okay, so in addition to a 45, 45, 90, we also have a 30, 60, 90. Now, the 30, 60, 90 is scalene because they all have all three different angle measures. That means all three different side measures. That means there is no congruent sides here. So we have no congruent sides. Oops, sorry. And that tells us our relationship about our side measures is going to be a little bit different. What we can look at, though, is this relationship between our 30 and our 60 and our hypotenuse. So now we have three different sides. So we have our short leg, and that you can see is, it's in yellow. So our short leg is going to have one measurement. Then we have our hypotenuse. And our hypotenuse is going to be double the length of our short leg. So it's 2 times whatever our short leg is. And you can see that relationship in green. So I'm going to do 2 times the short leg. Then our last measurement, just like we had a radical before, so our long leg now is going to be the short leg measure times radical 3. So this has three different relationships as opposed to the 45, 45, 90. This is something, these two relationships, I will send you out a document as well with the exact information on it so you don't have to write it down or anything. And I will also send you out my slides. But do know that the relationship there is going to be a little bit different. Okay, so you can see it too at the top as well, that they have the short leg. They have 2 times the short leg, and then they have the short leg times radical 3. Same thing here. If the short leg was 1, 1 times 2 gives me 2. And then 1 times radical 3 gives me radical 3. So let's put this into play here. Let's look at the left one first. So my short leg is 6. My hypotenuse should be double that, so 6 times 2 is 12, which, hey, that's perfect. And then my long leg is going to be the short leg times radical 3. Well, my short leg, we said, was 6. So all I have to do then is 6 times radical 3. And I found my 3 measurements. All right, let's look at the far right one. And I know my short leg is 5, so let's write this down. From there, I just need to double my hypotenuse. So 5 times 2 gives me 10. So this will be 10. And then my long leg, the relationship is my short leg times radical 3. So my short leg is 5, and then times radical 3. So my long leg is 5 radical 3. And you can tell that that's my long leg and my short leg because they form that 90-degree angle. My hypotenuse is always going to be opposite that 90-degree angle. Okay, so just to review, the 45, 45, 90, your 2 legs will be equal. So they're congruent. And then your hypotenuse is going to be the length of your leg, either one, since they're the same. So it'll be your leg times radical 2. If you have a 30, 60, 90, your short leg, you just need to find that measurement. Your hypotenuse is double that. Two times the short leg. And then your long leg is your short leg times radical 3. I want you to think about this. If I was given the hypotenuse, and I'm given the hypotenuse of 18, I can work backwards. My short leg is going to be half of that, right? If my hypotenuse is supposed to be 2 times it, then it's going to be half. Oops, that's not my short leg, sorry. That's my long leg. My short leg's down here. So then that would be 9. Then this would be my short leg times radical 3. If I'm given my short leg, or my long leg, let's say I'm given my long leg is 4 radical 3. Well, then that tells me the 4 is my short leg. I can double that and get my hypotenuse. So all these relationships can work interchangeably. It's just a matter of determining what information you are given. All right. So just some reminders here. 4.08 and 4.09 are your assignments. I need to give you some mystery numbers, but hang tight on that. Monday is our review day for our test. Our test is scheduled to be due by Tuesday. We're going to go through all of it again for this whole unit on Monday. So if you feel like you have some questions, you can either come to office hours. I'm hoping they will work out. Otherwise, obviously, come to class on Monday and we can get something sorted through. Your mystery numbers today will be 29 and -8. So 29 and -8 will be your mystery numbers. I will put your zeros and your schedules up for next week into the course over the weekend, and have a great weekend. Let me know if you have questions. Otherwise, thank you for, again, once dealing with this issue. I know it's not everybody's favorite, but I do appreciate it, and I'm sorry. It was a disaster for my one class. I kept getting kicked out, and I just did not want you guys to have to deal with that. My meeting was kind of a little chaotic as well, so sometimes it's just easier if nobody's in class, and then I can ensure that I'm not wasting anybody's time. So thank you, and have a great weekend.